Alright, this is my 5-minute test video for the 3Play Media YouTube integration. I'll be reading from The Girl Who Played with Fire. Paulo Roberto got Miriam Wu's answering machine for the 15th time. He'd been to the address on Lundegarten several times already that day. No one answered when he rang her doorbell. It was past 8 o'clock on Tuesday evening. She had to come home sometime. Damn it. He understood Wu would want to stay out of sight, but the worst of the media blitz had subsided. He might as well sit outside the door of her building in case she turned up, even if it was only for a change of clothing. He filled a thermos of coffee and made himself some sandwiches. Before he left his apartment, he made the sign of the cross in front of the crucifix and the Madonna. He parked about 100 feet from the entrance on Lindengarten and pushed back the seat to make more room for his legs. He played the radio at a low volume. He taped up a photograph of Wu that he'd cut out of the newspaper. She looked great, he thought. He patiently watched the few people walking past. Miriam Wu was not one of them. Every 10 minutes, he dialed her number. He gave up trying to call around 9 o'clock when his mobile told him that the battery was almost dead. Sandstrom spent Tuesday in a state of approaching apathy. He had slept the night on the sofa in the living room, incapable of going to bed and unable to stop sobbing fits that regularly overcame him. On Tuesday morning, he went down to System Bolaget and Solna and bought a bottle of some sort of alcohol. Then he went back to his sofa and drank half of it. Not until later did he come to a clear understanding of his situation and begin to understand what he could do about it. He wished that he had never heard of the Ranted brothers or their whores. He could not believe that he had been so stupid as to let himself be enticed to the apartment in Norsburg, where Atho had been tied heavily drugged to Ines Humajarvi to a bed with her legs spread, then challenged him about who had the bigger rod. They had taken turns, and when he won the contest for the greater number of sexual feats performed that night. The girl woke up once and tried to resist. Atho spent half an hour alternating between slapping her and filling her with drink after she was pacified and invited Sandstrom to continue the sport. Fucking whore. How could he have been so stupid? He could hardly expect any mercy from Millennium. They made their living with that type of scandal. He was scared to death of the madwoman Solander, not to mention the blonde monster. Obviously, he couldn't go to the police. He wasn't going to be able to manage on his own, and the problem wasn't going to go away by itself. There was only one slim possibility open to him, one where he could expect an ounce of sympathy and maybe a solution of sorts. He was clutching at straws, but it was his only option. That afternoon, he gathered his courage and called Harry Ranta's mobile. There was no answer. He kept trying until 10 o'clock that night. After thinking about the matter for a long time and fortifying himself with the rest of the aquavit, I don't know what kind of alcohol that is. I'm going to look it up and find out. He called Atho Ranta. It was Atho's girlfriend, Sylvia, who answered. She told him that the Ranta brothers were on vacation in Tallinn. No, she did not know how to reach them. No, she had no idea when they would be back. They would be in Estonia for quite a while. She sounded glad of that. Sandstrom wasn't sure if he was depressed or relieved. It meant that he didn't have to explain things to Atho. But the underlying message that the Ranta brothers had decided to take a breather in Tallinn for the foreseeable future did not so much as calm Sandstrom's nerves. Tuesday, April 5th through Wednesday, April 6th. Paolo Roberto had not gone to sleep, but he was so deeply immersed in his thoughts that it was a moment before he noticed the woman walking down from Hogalid Church after 11 p.m. He saw her in his rearview mirror, not until she passed under a street light. About 70 yards behind him did he snap his head around and at once recognized that it was Miriam Wu. He sat up in his seat. His immediate thought was to get out of the car, but he might scare her off. It was better to wait until she reached the front door. As he watched her approach, he saw a dark-colored van pull up next to her. Paulo Roberto looked on, horrified, as if a devilishly huge beast, hopped out of the sliding doors and grabbed Wu. She was taken completely by surprise. She tried to wriggle away by backing up, but the man held her wrist like a in a vice-like grip. And that's 5 minutes. It's hard to read this book because there's so many weird names. Okay, the end.